Can all of you mute yourselves so that we can hear?
Yeah. So I thought I will talk about elephants in general, but focus a little bit more about the female of the species, since I'm talking to all-female audience. So I will spend the next half an hour to 35 minutes, so you can ask some questions if you want at the end. Just to start off, to give some context, there are two types of elephants in the world, two species, the African and the Asian. The African is called Loxodonta, and the Asian is called Elephas maximus. And in the African variety, there are two subspecies, and in the Asian variety, there are four subspecies. The Elephas maximus indicus, which is the Indian variety, the Elephant maximus borneosis, which is the elephant in Borneo, and Elephas maximus sumatranus, the Asian elephant living in Sumatra. And the most important thing is that Sri Lanka has its own separate subspecies, Elephas maximus maximus. So that's something for us to be proud of. Our elephant is definitely a different subspecies to all the other Asian elephants. Quickly to show you about endangered, the Sumatran elephant is almost extinct, so it's critically endangered, CR. This is by the IUCN. The Sri Lankan and Indian elephants are endangered because the numbers are fairly low, but the African two varieties are entitled vulnerable. That means because they are still not come to that stage. So critical is very bad, vulnerable is dangerous, and endangered is somewhere in between. So that shows you an indication of the number of elephants, about 5 to 6 lakhs of elephants in the African elephants. So that's why it's more not that critical, it is vulnerable. But Asian elephants, we are down to about 50,000 all over the world. So it is endangered. So now let's focus on the Sri Lankan elephant. The Sri Lankan wild elephant population is about 6,500 now, from about 15,000. Why I have put a question mark there is you might think that the elephant is very large. It's very easy to count. But in the wild, these guys are very elusive. They can go and hide themselves when you're counting. They're not going to stand up there and wait till you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So most of these things are estimates. So there is a rough estimate of about 6,500 elephants left in Sri Lanka now. This is about a few years ago, but I think still the number is about 6,500, so 7,000 at the most. A few things about the elephant, something that we must be very proud of. It is the largest land animal in the world. So Sri Lanka, little old Sri Lanka, has the world's largest land animal. And to get away from elephants just a bit, you know that we have blue whales, and that's the largest animal that ever lived in the world. That's even bigger than dinosaurs. So this is what, from my tourism hat, I have been trying to promote, that people must understand that in this small 65,000 square kilometer island, you have the world's largest land animal and the world's largest animal that ever lived in this world. So it's a fantastic selling point that nowhere in the world can you see both of these animals together. Yes, in some areas you have big whales, some areas you have elephants, but you don't have anywhere else where you have elephants and whales in one and the same place. This is another interesting thing I found out when I was doing my sort of reading and studies. We have the largest land animal and we have the smallest land animal, the pygmy shrew. I got this confirmed by scientists. One is about 9 feet, other is about 1 inch. One is 4 tons, one is 4 grams. So what a wonderful island. This is the sad part, that we have so much of wonderful nature here, but we have failed to really appreciate it in most cases. And the last thing to remember is we have, although we have 6,500 elephants, we have a very small land mass. India has a lot of elephants, but India is large. So when you look at the density of Asian elephants, Sri Lanka has the highest density. So this is one of the problems that we'll talk about later on, that Sri Lanka has a very high density of elephants, many elephants in a small area. Before I start talking about elephants and their society, let us just talk about what we have to talk about in Sri Lanka, human-elephant conflict. The issues, basically, we have a little land, a lot of people, and too many elephants. And of course, the Department of Wildlife is more interested in looking after the welfare of people rather than elephants. We have reduced our forest dramatically. We have developed unregulated human settlements all over. Political will, villagers are put up and settled in areas where there are elephants. Land use is being changed. You can see in the papers even now, not only for elephants, but for everything. People are encroaching into national parks. You read about the Wilpattu issue. And of course, most importantly, elephants need to move. I will talk about that. They are intelligent animals. They need to move. They won't stay in one place. So when you break up the elephant habitat, they find it very difficult and they come into conflict with man. That is what you call the elephant corridors. The elephant needs to walk large spaces. We'll explain that later on. And the fragmentation of elephant habitat, more than deforestation, is the main cause for conflict, because elephants try to walk to where they are known to go, and they find a village in the way, and then comes the problem. This is just an indication with my friend Jennifer, Dr. Preeti Viraja's wife, who did some research. You can see this is the Manu Mattala airport, and these are elephants. The red color is one elephant called Uma. The blue color is Vali. So these elephants were collared, radio collared, and she had tracked them. And you can see this was their home before. And now they are all walking around the airport, which is fenced off. So this is a typical example of going and doing a big development inside elephant habitat. You can see how this is. It's an amazing research that this lady has done. Just to give you an idea, this was the forest cover about 1950s, around 2000s. That is what happened. So you can see, this is what I said. These were big patches where elephants could walk in large patches. But now you can see it's fragmented. In between this, you get villages. So when elephants try to walk through, you have huge problems and people come into confrontations. This is another picture. In the early 19th century, 1990s, we had elephants all over, even in the southern province, Panamure, even in the western province. But as time went by, they got pushed, and all these elephants, because this is the area that is developed in Sri Lanka much more, and you have a lot of elephants outside in the north, northeast, and south areas. Of course, when they come into contact with people, a lot of things happen. Railway, we have a lot of elephants getting hit and killed. We have elephants dying of natural death. We have elephants being shot. This elephant, you can see that the foot has been blown off by a landmine. So it's very pathetic to see that these very wonderful giants are being disseminated in large numbers. And this is the worst form of thing, the hakkapatas. That is the villagers put a pressure mine, like a big firecracker. And when the elephant bites and puts it into a watermelon, and when the elephant bites, you can see the whole mouth gets blown off and they die a very horrible, slow death, because there's no chance of doing anything because the whole jaw is damaged. This is the deadly statistics. Elephant mortality is rising, and today it has gone up to about 400 elephants last year, 2019, which means 365 days of the year. If 400 elephants were killed or killed, you're saying that one elephant dies every day. So this is a very frightening thing. Of course, people also die. About 100 people die for a year, but 400 of these magnificent animals also die because of the human-elephant conflict. Now we talk about the female of the species. The elephants live in families, and this is the famous lady who has done a lot of research in Africa called Cynthia Moss. And I just thought the best thing to start off this part of the discussion is by quoting her. Elephant females are born to lead, says Cynthia Moss, director of Ambosidi Trust for Elephants, who has been studying them from 1970. In adult female elephants, there is no choice, nor is there any struggle with males for position. Males live separately and do not serve as leaders among the family groups of elephants. So this is the wonderful thing in the elephant family unit, that it is the female who leads the pack, the group. So here you can see this is a typical small family unit of sometimes the family unit can be 4, 5, 6 up to 12. And it is always led by the matriarch, the wise, the senior most female. She is the one who knows all the history, all where there are water holes. If there is a drought, where should they take the herd? The herd's entire livelihood, their survival depends on this matriarch. And of course, the matriarch is supported by other females in the group, in the herd, and they could be her sisters, they could be her cousins. So it's a very interesting structure where you have all the females taking a leadership role.
I think we need to, everyone needs to mute. There's a lot of background noise. Sheila, you're the host. Can you mute everybody?
Okay, I will do that. How do I do? Let me see. All should be muted.
Indira, Chuki, Mala, Roseanne, Sandy, please mute yourselves.
I'm also trying to see how I can mute. Anyway, we'll go on Shalas and see how it goes, huh?
Yeah, if you go to if you just click at participants, Sheila, at the bottom, and you click that, at the bottom it will say mute all.
Okay. I'm also not very familiar with it. Okay, anyway, we'll go ahead, Shanas. So okay. This is a typical female herd. You can see this might be the matriarch. These are her offspring or cousins or sisters. So it's a wonderful family unit, and this is how its structure is. The matriarch could be daughters, could be granddaughters, sisters, nieces, all are in one big group, and these groups change. Maybe a few cousins will take off for a little while, come back. So it's a very fluid thing, but the core group still remains. So this is fantastic. And this is what the beauty of elephant society. The family unit is very, very strong, led by the matriarch with the other females in the group. It's a lifelong bonding.
Really, you're making my life miserable.
Okay. Communication, they communicate very closely with each other. They are always rumbling. When you go to wildlife parks, you will hear them rumbling. That is communicating constantly. Unity. What the matriarch says is absolute discipline.
I don't know what you are doing to the phone also.
Can Saroshi please mute your microphone? So unity is absolutely vital for elephant success.
This is eminence.
Saroshi, can you please mute yourself? Okay, unity. So as I said, the matriarch's word is law. There's no one who will disobey her because the whole livelihood of the I muted everyone. Yeah, everyone is muted now. Okay. There's a lot of caring, as you can see in this picture. They are always touching each other. They are very, very intelligent animals who need who need interaction with each other. They will never go too far away. They will be always rumbling, talking to each other. This is all kept closely knit by the matriarch. There's empathy. They feel happiness. They feel anger, just like humans. So they are wonderful animals, and this is the beauty of this family. You need patience, calmness, because the elephant, the matriarch's wisdom, along with the elder sisters who are the leaders of the herd, their wisdom is very valuable to the elephant herd's success. Okay, now what? Right. Now, elephant gives birth to a calf after 2 years of gestation. It's one of the longest gestation periods of an animal in the wild. So for 2 years, she carries this calf, and once the calf is born, it is one of the strongest bonds ever in the animal kingdom. The baby is looked after by the matriarch, suckled for another 2 years. So therefore, a female elephant can't have another calf for at least 2 years. 2 years gestation, at minimum 2 years lactation. She will only reproduce after 2 years. So this is a wonderful thing. And what is another important thing is the calf is looked after by everyone. There are reports that sometimes when the mother doesn't have milk, another lactating female will gladly give her milk to the calf. So what a wonderful society this calf is born to. In Buddhism, they say sometimes it's your best karma to be born as a calf in an elephant family. And they are very, very protective of the calf. When you are in the wildlife parks, I have gone many times. I do a lot of work in the parks. People ask me, I said, I don't not too worried about the big male fellows. But if you by chance get in the way of a female and a calf, boy, you could be into some real trouble. So calves are very protected. You can see here how the small fellow is being taken in between the two females. And here you can see how protective they are. It's close to the jeep, and they are sort of keeping the calf inside, bunched up. This is a very unusual photograph I put of my good friend, Dr. Shermin De Silva, who has done a lot of work for about 4 years at Udawalawe National Park, just to show you that these elephants are intelligent. Now, she goes to the park every day for about 2 to 3 years. The elephants have got used to her. So this is a very unusual sight. She won an award for this photograph, where the herd is allowing the small fellows to sleep right in front of her jeep. It's that amount of trust. So this shows you that elephants have such a lot of empathy. They understand human beings. They have got to know her. They can feel that she is not a threat to them. So you will never see anything like this in the wild because they are very, very protective of their calves. Calves are very mischievous, just like our teenagers, our young fellows. Babies, they will be playing, they'll roll, they'll run around, and very often you'll find sometimes the mother has to give them a bit of a whack and get them back into stead. Okay, right. Now what happens to the males? We're talking so much about the females. Very interestingly, when the baby is a male, and he comes to about 7 or 8 or about 9, 10 years old, he becomes mature. And moment he starts showing certain sexual movements and things like that, very interestingly, he is chased out of the herd. He is sent out of the herd because they don't want elephants inbreeding. What a wonderful thing nature has The matriarch or one of the other senior females will push the fellow out slowly, and they are sent out of the herd. So that's a very traumatic experience for these young fellows. After 10 years of loving care, suddenly they are told to get out. And then what they do is they go and gang up with a few other fellows like this, and then they spar with each other just to see who is strong, because at the later stages, the strongest is the one who can have a chance to mate with elephants. So the interesting thing once again is that the males are chased out of the herd when they are young, when they are getting slightly mature, and they gang up for a short while with others as a comfort level. And they are the ones who can be a little bit nasty, because they have, can you imagine, you have lost the comfort of your family suddenly, and they are all a bit of these what you call nambas, who are perali. And these fellows hang out like this. And very interestingly, they latch on to another big male, like an apprentice. You can see this fellow is small. He must be about 12, 15 years, whereas this fellow is about 30 years, 25 years. So he'll hang out with this guy slowly without intruding and learn what this guy is doing. And this is a very interesting thing, how the males learn their trade, and they are the ones who walk. So this male who is chased out of one herd, when he's big, he will go and search out another herd to mate. So they will never mate with the same herd, because then it will be inbreeding. So that's another wonderful way nature, elephant society keeps the gene pool healthy. Otherwise, by inbreeding, the genes will get the males are all solitary. If you see most often a single large elephant, they are much bigger than the females, and they have tusks. Females don't have tusks. This is Sumedha in Udawalawe National Park, huge bull, but he is alone. He only comes into the herd for one thing, for reproduction. That is, he's a reproducing machine. Otherwise, he's not wanted in the herd. So when a female is receptive, only the male is allowed to come inside. And here again, you can see this must be the matriarch. They are leading the way. You can see how the bigger females are going with the smaller fellows here. This is also a herd crossing the road. You can see one of the senior females coming out first, then the other fellows cross. And you can see at the end comes a matriarch, comes to check whether everything is okay. She'll stand sentinel on the side here. And I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, can hear you, Srilal.
Right, fine. Okay. I was, because I had muted everyone. I was a bit worried whether I was talking to myself. Right, so this is a very interesting sequence. I'll show you a few more sequences like that. Now this is after bathing. You can see the signal has been given by the matriarch to get out, and one by one, all the guys, there is no saying, I want to stay a little longer. Can I wait? No way. Mom, the big madam says, go. Everyone will go. You can see how obediently, of course, sometimes there are one or two naughty guys who have to be given a smack to get out of the water and go on. This is an interesting sequence. This is Sandamali, this elephant. She's one of I'll talk to you about the elephant transit home. She was a female who was released from the transit home, one of the greatest success stories of the elephant transit home, where she joined the herd and has had a calf. This is the calf. Now, one day when I was here, you can see the calf is fully exposed. She came right up to my Jeep. I think she felt comfortable with me. I have gone to the park to the elephant transit home when she was a small girl, a small elephant, and maybe she recognized me. She brought this baby to me. And you can see the other elephants who were born in the wild. You can see how they are trying to tell her, don't go there, don't go. And then they actually push her and take her away. It was an amazing sight. And I could be wrong, but I believe elephants have a lot of intelligence. And I think this is what happened. Sandamali brought her little daughter or son to show me. But the other elephants were a bit wary and they said, don't go there. don't go to near humans, let's go. And pushed her and took her away. This is another incident, quick anecdote about mating. I was one day in the Udawala National Park later in the evenings. That's why the photographs are bad. 3 male elephants approached this herd. Then I realized that one female in the herd was in estrus. She was receptive. So I was watching. The first fellow came, and the matriarch gave him a thundering whack for no reason, and he ran. A little while later, the second fellow summed up enough courage and came close to the herd. He also got the same treatment by the matriarch. Now, the matriarch is not the one who's receptive. It's one of maybe her daughter or sister. The third guy came, and the matriarch approved of the young man, young fellow, and he mounted. You can see that. It was very interesting. It was the matriarch who was controlling it. For some reason, she felt the first 2 suitors were not good, and the third one was okay, and she allowed him to come inside. Very interesting. This is in Min area. You can see the females are all agitated. They all bunch up like this, and these are all females. I'm not sure who the matriarch is, but as I told you, it's a shared responsibility between the matriarch and her elder sisters, perhaps. As I told you, they have a lot of empathy. They know death very definitely. They grieve for their dead, for the elephants who died. There's a little calf who has died here. You can see everyone congregating there. They become very quiet. They don't start rumbling. They push the carcass around with the leg, with the trunk, and they stay for about a day or 2 with the carcass before they move off. So elephants very, very well know death, and they know to grieve. And this is the grim, sad reality when a female elephant is killed and the calf is left destitute. As I told you, the calf is totally dependent on the mother for the 5 to 6 years. And there's no way that a calf like this will survive in the wild. So unfortunately, mostly it's males who come into altercations, because I told you the males are the ones who travel far away looking for another herd. But very often, even females in the herd get shot and killed. So thankfully, we have the elephant transit home at Dudawalawe, where most of these orphans are brought and cared for. They are allowed to mingle with the other elephants. They are looked after. Actually, it's a labor of love. You should go there and see how these boys. It's not easy. It's like having 30. I think they have 43 young fellows there. It's like having a 43 kindergarten fellows, but about 500 pound small guys, not infants, right? And it's very difficult to control the fellows. They are very mischievous, different personalities. You should go and watch that. And they're all there out in the open, and they are allowed to, the interaction with humans is minimal. They are only brought to give milk, and then they are taken and let out in the paddock, so that when they are about 5 to 6 years and they can fend for themselves, about 5 or 6 fellows are taken together and released in the park. It's a very sorry sight, very sad to see. The fellows are all confused because suddenly they are taken in a lorry and put inside. And of course, they monitor these guys with a radio collar to see how they are going. And they have released over 100 elephants right now quite successfully. This is unfortunately Namal, one of the young fellows who were brought with a snare around his leg here. And the vet had to amputate the leg to save the animal. So he's one elephant that cannot be released back into the wild. And they had made a very crude limb, artificial limb for him. Some of us got some expertise from USA and Thailand. And today he has a very, much more better. This is like a bucket, a steel bucket, and he's to hurt the guy. But we got a very fairly impressive prosthetic. It looks just like a leg here. And he's, of course, going to be a permanent feature in the elephant transit home because he cannot be released into the wild. He's quite friendly with me. I've been following the guy from when he was small. And whenever I go, I have to take some watermelon and feed him. Quickly on the latter part, captive elephants. Yes, there are captive elephants, unfortunately. I don't believe elephants should be kept in captivity, but unfortunately, there are about 100, particularly in temples. Some are badly treated. But remember that an elephant is a wild animal. There are, when people say domesticated elephants, that is wrong. It's not like cats and dogs. They cannot be domesticated. They are always wild. So that's why you have to be very careful. That's why the mahout elephant relationship is very vital, because you have to always be in control. Otherwise, the elephant is very powerful, very strong, and intelligent. So he can do a lot of damage if he wants to, but it's a question of a very careful psychological balance between the mahout and the thing. This is my son. Elephants need a lot of physical interaction, because remember, they were in the wild in a lovely herd. Now they have been brought and they are kept alone. That is why they love to be touched, right? This is at Pinnavala. Of course, when I go, because I know the curators, we go and interact with them. Not everyone can do this, but this is Mali, a very big female elephant, and so happy to see people. So this is the intelligence of this beautiful animal, and actually it's a crime to keep him in solitary confinement after capturing him. So lastly, human-elephant conflict, we must try to change it to human-elephant coexistence, because we can't afford to lose this wonderful animal. It's very complex, because it's not an easy thing. The elephant is large, it needs a lot of food, it needs to travel. We are a developing country. We have to find resources for our people. But unfortunately, the Wildlife Department does not use good scientific knowledge. There's a lot of people out there who are doing good work. The changing in land use patterns is not stopping, it is getting worse. They are resettling villages for political reasons, and the lack of a focused, holistic approach. You can't do what you call a kokata taile sort of thing, you one solution for all. So they just try to put up a fence and say, keep the elephants out. The elephants are not going to stay out. This is their land. They will come back and they say, this is my land, you go off. Unlike a leopard, that's an interesting thing. The leopard is an adaptable species. So you have leopards in Hantane. There are about 18 leopards in Hantane. They are living peacefully. They'll slowly come and carry off a dog or a cat. But the elephant is not going to do that. He's going to come back and say, I don't care about your fence, I'll break it down. This is my place, you go. So this is the interesting thing. And this is again Jennifer's husband, Dr. Preeti Viraj, just to show you the amount of scientific knowledge. He has mapped out almost the entire of Sri Lanka. These blue areas are where there are people and elephants. The green areas are where there are elephants only. And the blue areas are where there are males. And the white areas where there are only people. So it's a very easy thing to sit down and say, okay, what do we do with this? Okay, can we move some of these elephants into these areas? Can we connect this whole belt? Things can be done with this type of data. But unfortunately, the Wildlife Department is the sole authority for this. Private sector people can't do anything with wildlife because of the Flora and Fauna Act, unlike in Kenya, where you have private wildlife parks. So unfortunately, that's the situation. There's no quick fix solutions. Elephants are very intelligent animals. They'll break the wire fence by putting a dry twig so that they don't get electrocuted. Very interesting stuff we can talk about. They range, as I told you, the males have to walk sometimes 100, 200 kilometers over a week. They will walk to find another herd. And their social interaction, as I said, is complex, and piecemeal interventions will not work. So unfortunately, we need a holistic approach, but the government is not interested in looking at it. I always take the example of Indira Gandhi, who about 30 years ago, she started Project Tiger under the president. And all these actors came to this thing, Amitabh Bachchan, all these people said, and she got all of their help, and she created a huge feeling around the country. And that is why the tiger has recovered in India. So you need that thing. So that to end, Again, from India, the great man says the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way the animals are treated. So unfortunately, in our country, perhaps elephants, our children or our great-grandchildren definitely might not be able to see so many animals in the wild. It is still not late if we can all get together. And unfortunately, it's not something that the private sector can do, as I told you. So it could be the end of the road. So I thank you very much for patiently listening to us, listening to me.